Drought is my first try at a game in 3D. I purposely kept it very simple because I didn't have a lot of experience making 3D games. I was inspired by the game Time Frame. I wanted to recreate that calm, relaxing game feel where you just walk around exploring things. Just like in Time Frame, the setting is in a desert. I wanted to tell a little bit of a story with the environment. You start out in the poor desert area of the map. If you walk forward a bit, you'll see a few simple houses with a gigantic tower shadowing them in the background. I wanted the player to have some kind of goal to walk towards, and seeing the tower this way hopefully establishes that goal. If you looked around a bit from the starting point, you should have noticed a statue and another building to your other side, which will hopefully guide you in the right direction. Using the buildings and houses, I tried to create a clear contrast between the rich and the poor. The idea is that the rich are in complete control of this desert, where they have blocked all access to the only possible water source in the area. There is a large canyon separating the desert and the mountain area, and at the end of the canyon you can see a way up the mountain. What I also wanted players to see here was the poor shantytown at the foot of the mountain. I modeled a few tiny houses next to what was once a lake filled with water from the mountain. I left a bit of water in it to show that it was once filled with water. Unfortunately, this part of the game was completely lost on most players, as it was unfortunately hidden behind some hills. I made the elevation too high in that part of the level, and as a result most players completely missed this part. The town could also have been clearly seen from the elevator up the mountain, but unfortunately the elevator had some problems of their own. I thought it would be pretty easy to implement a simple elevator, but unfortunately I encountered a few problems. The first idea I had was to just make the platform move up as the player was standing on top of it. But that didn't work because while the platform was moving up, the player would get stuck inside the platform, which didn't allow the player to move. So then I thought I'd just match the elevator's upward speed to the player's upward speed, essentially making the player fly above the elevator a bit. Seems easy enough, but now the player had essentially no friction while on top of the elevator. This meant that you could walk on the elevator, but then you'd just slide off. So finally I decided it would be best to just lock the player in place while the elevator was moving. If the player pressed a button to move, I would stop the elevator to allow the player to freely move about. The only problem now is that the trigger of the elevator is smaller than the actual moving platform of the elevator, which means you can't really stand on the edge. Why? Well, if I didn't do that, then as soon as you'd walk onto the elevator it would just go up without you on it, essentially making it impossible for you to ride on the elevator. So yes, the elevators are a bit wonky, but it was all I could think of within a week's time. When you finally make it up the mountain, I once again have a little bit of environmental storytelling. You can see that the rich people have access to plenty of water, and that they build a dam to throttle the water flow to lower areas. The houses here are bigger and have elevators inside of them. And then finally you get to this gigantic tower. You get to ride an elevator all the way up, and on top of the tower you can see a small ramp which leads you to the edge of the tower. From here you have a great view of the area below. Walking to the edge of this platform makes the screen slowly fade to black, and then finally you have finished the game. I was afraid the game was too boring since all you do is walk around, but to my surprise a lot of people really enjoyed it. I think an important part was the choice of music. I went for something relaxing and pleasant to listen to. I feel that the music in this case shouldn't be too predominant and should help the player get into that relaxed, calm state I went for. I won't be making any new games for the next few weeks, since I'll be enjoying my holiday. When I return from holiday, I'll pick it up again and return to making games within a single week. In the meantime, enjoy your summer, and I hope to see you next time.